Good morning, everyone. For those of you who are not here, today is our last lesson for Unit 1. We're talking about revising or writing without teachers. In other words, responding to other people's writings. You can see from this slide that we are doing two things today, talking about citations in MLA and then moving into strategies that make us better responders to other people's work. And then we'll follow up with revising each other's essays. So in your academic notes, there's a slide here that we're going to go through in class, pretty self-explanatory. I just want you to write down the two that we're not using and learn and listen or read about those two. But for the MLA writing styles, make sure that you follow the instructions in each of those boxes for MLA whenever you are writing a paper for college, if that's what your instructor asks you to do. So we're going to spend most of the time on campuses. You will be using MLA or APA. I want to just make sure you understand the differences. One of the reasons I want you to understand the differences is we will be using scholarly journals that are done in APA. So even though they're citing it a different way, we can use their information. We just still have to cite it in MLA. So here are some differences. So who's running the show? MLA stands for Modern Languages Association, whereas APA is American Psychological Association. So depending on the type of course that you are taking, they will require a different formatting or style. Also, they require a different formatting or style if you are publishing your work rather than completing an assignment. So the subject matter, again, if you look at MLA, you can see that it's used a lot in language, literature, and humanities type courses, and that's where this fits. So that's why you see it in this particular class. Many of the sciences use APA style. So the next one, title pages. You'll notice that in MLA you need a header and a heading, whereas in APA you need a title page itself. I know some of you have turned in some work that took the History 1700 class, and that was done in APA style, which meant at the beginning of the year you were turning in title pages. But again, this is MLA, so just know the header and the heading becomes your technical title page, and then you just continue on with the rest of your document on page 1. The title of sources, those are different. When you are citing all your sources in MLA, you call it works cited. If you are writing something in APA, that page is called references. So if you're ever looking at an article and you're thinking, how did they cite it? Easiest way to look at it is to go to the list of sources at the end of the article. And if you see references, you know that it's all been done in APA. If you see works cited, then you will know that it has been cited in MLA. Capitalization is different. If you are an MLA, they follow the rule as all essential words in titles are capitalized. The first word, the last word, important words in the middle. Whereas in APA, they treat it more like a sentence. So the first word is capitalized and then nothing else is capitalized unless it is a proper noun. The in-text citations, you'll notice in MLA, it's last name and page number. Whereas in APA, it's last name, year. They actually use the P for page. And you can see in APA there is punctuation, whereas MLA there is no punctuation. These three websites will help you whenever you are writing a paper for any different style. Write down the websites, but you can also, during this class, know that they are in the general reference selection module that I put on our Canvas page. And so you can click in it. In class, we are actually going to go to the MLA site and learn how to navigate it a little bit. All right, so that is our academic notes. We are stapling them all together and turning them in like we will do at the end of every unit. And you can't make those up. So anyway, so those are due today. All right. This is kind of an aha moment for me. A couple years ago, when we were on lockdown from COVID, I was just overwhelmed with so much paperwork. At that time, I was teaching full time, and I actually had 7 class periods. 4 of them were 10-10, 20-10. Well, it was 20-10 class at the time, along with some 10-10 classes. And I just, like I said, I was just overwhelmed. And I started thinking about the course of my life, how much time I've spent grading essays. And I'm not going to walk you through all of these statistics, but those are my statistics that gave me 2 years ago, or I realized 2 years ago that I have devoted 6 years of my life to giving students feedback. And that is a sad thing. But in what I was doing when I looked at that is how much of that feedback actually ended up benefiting the students. We can add so many comments to students' essays, and all that does is make me a better editor, a better writer, or for me to be better aware of what makes good writing. It does little to help you unless you actually look and take it seriously. So comments from teachers in the margins are there for you to become better. And that's why we're here in school. It's not so I can become a better writer. It's so you can. So with that idea in mind, I don't want to devote more years of what life I have left to doing that if it's not beneficial. So how can we become better? How can teachers use time better, and how can you get more feedback on your writing? Well, it comes through peer review. And this quote here that I have by Nancy Summers, she's over the writing program at Harvard. Responding to students' writing takes more time, thought, and energy than any other aspect of teaching. I completely agree with her. It's exhausting, it's time consuming, but it is relevant. So make sure that, again, you read what they say. So how can we do that? A couple of years ago, I had one of my students, at the end of the year, I have them give me feedback on the class. And one of the students wrote this quote. I asked if I could use it for my classes. But they talked about the most beneficial aspect of the class was the time spent in peer review. And today's our first experience with that, and we will be using it all the time from now on. So I just want to make sure that you can navigate and know how to use peer review. So there are 3 quick videos here. In class, we're just going to watch a couple of them that talk about what makes a good classroom peer review experience. I love the quote by Stephen King where he says, "Write in private, edit in public." And so that's where the stage we are at today with your essay. So now it needs to be public, and we need to have conversations with other people, be willing to share our work and get feedback on what we have to say. So when you do that for other people, it's your job to not give answers, but to raise questions. Remember, it's the students writing. So you want to pose questions to them about why they said what they did, and let them, you're not fixing everything. You're not going to turn around and correct all their errors on their paper. That's when you are doing the work. What you are doing is posing questions to them about what did they mean by that sentence or that paragraph. So just know that peer review is not an exercise in proofreading, and I don't want you today, if you're not with us, when you're getting someone else to give you feedback, to just merely have them edit your paper. I always say that this is the best and worst of times in classrooms, and it all is determined on how the students use the time. So you don't want it to be the worst of times where you just read somebody's work and you tell them, good job. It doesn't matter how good the writer is. They always want feedback of what works and what doesn't work. So we're going to make sure this year that our peer review time is the best of times. We're not going to take all of this time to read through everything. but just know that you can peer review in person, electronically. I think the best way is personally, because it allows a conversation to go back and forth with the writing rather than just shifting and moving paper around. So what can you do? Here's a strategy. As you give feedback, think of the word spark. And it's pretty self-explanatory. For those of you who are not here, take time to read this one strategy. So now in class, we are getting into groups of 3 to get feedback on your essay. If you are not here in class, I highly suggest that you ask someone to look over your paper and have a conversation with it. At least one person, try to do 2. After we do that in class, we are spending the rest of the time taking what we learned from other classmates and going back to our final draft. The syllabus says the draft is due today. I'm going to be kind and give you 48 extra hours. So by Saturday at midnight, you must upload this draft. If you do not upload it by Saturday at midnight, you cannot get higher than 50%. That's just kind of the standard with a college course. So whatever you have to do to remind yourself, I'm not sending out a remind, I'm not going to hold your hand. Remember, a college course, you have to be responsible. If you are busy the next couple of days, you want to upload it tonight, that's fine. But the assignment will actually be in today's Turnitin lesson. So upload it there, and it's set up in the UniCheck for a plagiarism feature. So don't do that. Anyway, good luck, and you finally reached the end of Unit 1. Have a good weekend.